Everyone's familiar with the rain, sleet, and snow yarn. Well, now you can add federal government shutdown to the list of things that won't keep the mail from moving. Folks at the Central Post Office didn't bat an eye when the federal spending deadline came and went. That's because within the last decade, the Postal Service has managed to sort themselves out from their former dependence on congressional appropriations.
The Post Office is an independent agency of the executive branch of the federal government, and under the Postal Reorganization Act of 1970, which established us in 1971, we basically depend primarily on our own revenues for funding, and the federal budget taxpayers provide less than 3% of our total budget. So I assume the reason we're not affected is that we still have funds to continue to operate from our own sale of stamps.
The central office processes over 2 million pieces of mail every day. And with the holiday season almost on us, it would be incredibly bad timing for a shutdown. But no need to worry. You can keep those cards and letters coming in. Ted Brown, Action 4, downtown.
The first firefighters on the scene quickly called up reinforcements to help handle last night's inferno. The eager flames once more licked at the same apartment units which had been ablaze just 32 hours before. Luckily, no one was inside the burning building this time. Arson experts say this can of charcoal lighter fluid carelessly tossed into a fireplace started the first fire. But most apartment residents feel the latest blaze was deliberately set.
Somebody started it. Arsonists.
As a resident of this apartment complex, how does that make you feel?
I'm moving. I can't get no sleep.
You can second that, too.
It's not very safe. I'm wondering if you're going to wake up in the morning or not.
Oh, well, like Billy said, it had to be an arsonist because, I mean, the building's already been burnt once, and the fire department's already been through it once, checked it out, and they said there was nothing burning, yesterday.
And there were no occupants of this building,
No
right?
occupants today.
The fire department says it doesn't know why someone would want to start a fire at the apartment complex. But some Walnut Ridge residents we spoke with said the apartment management is notoriously slow about performing maintenance around the complex. And they say revenge against Walnut Ridge might be one possible arson motive. Scott Wallace, Action 4, Northwest Oklahoma City.
The last couple of weeks, I haven't been able to review any good movies for you. Looker, Saturday the 14th, The Pursuit of D.B. Cooper just weren't that good. So today, I'm reviewing my favorite film in the last couple of years. It opened last summer and just recently reopened again. Raiders of the Lost Ark. Over $135 million has been taken in during the first 111 days. So it was announced recently that Raiders has become the top grossing motion picture in Paramount's history. This movie is patterned after those exciting serials of the 1930s, the ones which played on Saturday afternoon, the ones which kept you on the edge of your seat. The story starts in 1936. You've got Indiana Jones, played by Harrison Ford. He's an archaeologist and a university professor. We first see him in a tomb in South Africa. He grabs a golden headpiece, and the action begins. This movie has a tremendous amount of action. To prove that, let's see what happens after Jones gets out of the cave.
John! Start the engine! Get it up! As I was saying, you've got action, intrigue, mystery, chases, a little romance.
Beautiful locations, Nazi villains, fantastic acting and production. You will not see any better. Steven Spielberg directed Raiders, and George Lucas was the executive producer. A super filmmaking team. Anyway, back to the story. The whole film is a race, essentially. Indiana Jones, working with the U.S. government, is looking for the Lost Ark of the Covenant. And according to biblical lore, it contains the broken pieces of the Ten Commandments. And the Ark is also supposed to possess invincible and mysterious powers. The problem is that Hitler wants the Ark too, so Jones is supposed to get to the Ark before the Nazis do. There is a medallion which can reveal the precise location of the Ark. An old girlfriend, Marion, played by Karen Allen, is there to help him find it. She's quite a character, a feisty, spunky lady who operates a tavern. But the Germans get there before Indiana Jones does.
Must have slipped his mind.
The man is nefarious. I hope for your sake he has not yet acquired it.
Why, are you willing to offer more?
Oh, almost certainly. Do you still have it?
No.
Karen Allen and Harrison Ford do such a tremendous job of acting. Their characters are so real. Raiders of the Lost Ark is pure fun. It's escapist entertainment. Everything is believable, but yet we know it isn't. Raiders is for both kids and adults. So, over the Thanksgiving holidays, if you're with friends and family, and you're looking for something to do, see Raiders of the Lost Ark. I can't tell you enough how great this movie is. I'm Dean O'Lally, and have a happy Thanksgiving. The anniversary was Tuesday. 10 years ago, on Northwest Airlines Flight 305, somewhere close to Portland, Oregon, a man by the name of D.B. Cooper jumped out of a 727 at 10,000 feet. He had a parachute and $200,000 cash. An extensive search was conducted, no clues turned up, nothing. D.B. Cooper was never heard from again. And now, 10 years later, I'm reviewing a film called The Pursuit of D.B. Cooper, and having seen it, they should keep right on pursuing, running the film right into the ocean.
I'm not impressed, you know.
I wasn't either, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Treat Williams stars as D.B. Cooper, who, after his daring deed, became a national folk hero. The movie gives us a fictional account of what might have happened after Cooper jumped out of the plane. Now, all right, this is what happens according to the movie. Cooper hides the money, then hightails it for home, where he tries to impress his wife, played by Katherine Harold, and his father, played by Ed Flanders. All this time, Cooper is already being pursued by an insurance investigator, Bill Gruen, portrayed by Robert Duvall. It turns out Duvall is also Williams' former Green Beret instructor. After this, we've got nothing more than a chase film, not a very good one at that. Now, some of those chase scenes are not that bad. One is a canoe chase with Duvall pursuing Williams and Harold down some river rapids. The best chase is at the end of the movie, though. Duvall has temporarily gotten the money back, and he is being chased by Williams.
Don't quit on me now. Don't quit. Don't quit. Oh, what the hell? How do you like your new sunroof, Bruin? Come on, come on, come on. Come on now. See it already,
Chase scenes, no matter how good they are not enough to make the overall film good. The Pursuit of D.B. Cooper tries unsuccessfully to make this a lighthearted tale. They try to grab a piece of Americana. It just doesn't work. I will never understand why such good actors as Robert Duvall and Treat Williams take on such a nothing movie. In this particular case, they did what they could for their portrayals. They were all right. But overall, the movie itself, it's a flop.
outlaw.
It's a sham.
Outlaw.
And the guy in charge of this movie, you know what he is?
Outlaw.
You got it. You know, this movie might have some good to it after all. If the real D.B. Cooper sees it, he might turn himself in and say, I'll never do that again. Just don't make another movie. I'm Dean O'Lally.
The latest official word is that the second graduating class of air traffic controllers since the strike has just over a 30% failure rate. These figures came as the result of a second check of test scores. The first outcome was questioned by some, alleging that 17 failures had not been reported. This prompted an immediate check by Academy officials to determine if a discrepancy actually existed. Well, as it turned out, errors in computation had been made, but as an official reports, the mistakes were in no way intentional or deliberate.
I do have indications that there was not grade fixing. My review of the thing was in two facets. One, I reviewed the grading system process itself to determine where the systemic flaws were. And the other, I reviewed what has actually happened during the course of that 3 to 4 day period beginning November 19th to find out exactly who did what and when. And I can find nothing that would indicate to me that there was untoward activity or fixing, as you say.
DEMS has asked for recommendations from his staff concerning improvements that can be made in the grading process to avoid future errors. He wants to see the process become as highly automated as possible. Meanwhile, DEMS rests assured that the Congressional Investigating Committee that's coming in Monday to check rumored test score fixing will find the poor grading system at fault. Carol Lambert, Action 4.
Sponsors of the petition drive say they have over 100,000 signatures, more than enough to give Oklahoma voters the choice between a redistricting plan passed by the state legislature and another plan drawn up by a bipartisan group. The plan passed last July is under fire, mostly because of the District 5 boundaries. Mickey Edwards' district would snake up from Oklahoma County to the Kansas border. The alternate plan, proposed by the petition sponsors, would leave Oklahoma split up pretty much as it is today, with District 5 taking in almost all of Oklahoma County. State Senator Jerry Pierce says he saw a lot of support for the alternate plan during the petition drive.
We're very happy with the results of the petition. We're going to come in with well over 100,000 signatures, which we think is a great successful petition drive. We're going to have a great pad to withstand any kind of a challenge that may be lodged against us. So we think that we're going to be able to have enough signatures to allow the people of Oklahoma to have a vote on an alternative congressional redistricting plan, one which we think is more fair to the people of the state than the one passed by the legislature.
If the petition stands up to the possible challenge, then the state question will go on the ballot in November. The only problem is all of Oklahoma's representatives are up for re-election in November, too. They would have to go through another election after that from the new redrawn districts. The solution to that problem would be for Governor Nye to call a special election for the state question shortly after the first of the year. Ted Brown, Action 4 at the state capitol.
Four times each year, the rating service sweep or measure the audiences of local stations nationwide. The results are used to set local advertising rates. Since nearly $7 billion is spent in these local markets, it's important the local stations get strong programming from their networks, which includes blockbuster movies, some specials, and a number of programming surprises in their series.
NBC would invariably call us and say, oh, we just realized it's going to be sweeps week. Can you do a crossover? Which means, can you have the cast of Different Strokes visit the cast of Hello, Larry? And there were more trips made between the fictional New York and the fictional Portland, Oregon during sweeps week than you can count.
If you are asking me, do I think that sweeps are a fake way of measurement, I think the answer is clearly yes, since all of the networks do special things in that week.
I'll also tell you that they don't hypo programs during rating services, which on the face of it also is absurd. All you have to do is look at the programming schedules. The FCC has held that hypoing programs for ratings is illegal, but it's something that's never been really enforced.
Legal or not, no one can deny the special attention given programming in November, February, May, and July. The economics of broadcasting being what they are, it's obvious the power programming of blockbuster shows opposite each other will continue, with the big loser being the viewer.
What is bad about it is the fact that the viewer becomes, he finds himself frustrated. He can't make that choice. And really, in the long run, it's bad for business because, someone should say, hey, look, on this night, we're going to offer them a really special piece of pie. And maybe they'll watch everything on NBC, but tomorrow, they can have that other piece which they couldn't watch on CBS or ABC.
In the past, Oklahoma County Sheriff's deputies would occasionally prowl behind county businesses in unmarked cars searching for criminals. But the crime rate in the outlying areas of the county kept soaring. So a few months ago, the Sheriff's Department decided to beef up its nightly patrols. The strategy was simple: use uniformed officers in clearly marked cars to scare the bad guys out of Oklahoma County. People in the Sheriff's Department feel their game plan is working.
The high visibility of the marked units, the new uniforms, us being out in the public, back in these small towns, taking care of areas that's not been incorporated into city limits has made a tremendous effect on the burglary rate.
The endless hours of routine patrol are occasionally broken up by a call for help from a small-town police department.
County attention all officers. Tacoma Park has the vehicle shut down at 50th and Westminster. Jones, continue on and check it out.
Tacoma Park police have asked for assistance in stopping a speeder. When Deputy Smith arrives at the scene, the Tacoma Park officers already have the suspect in custody. They have found a wicked weapon in his car, a sawed-off shotgun.
I got legal? Don't believe so.
Not many lawmen would want to go one-on-one against a criminal armed with a sawed-off shotgun. Most are grateful to know that with the nightly patrols, they won't have to.
That officer and the other officers that were there to assist Tacoma Park also has the feeling that there's also somebody else out there in case another officer is tied up on a call. If Spencer had been tied up in Jones, I still would have been there to assist the Tacoma Park officers on their pursuit. We work with each other, we help each other. It has a tremendous effect on everybody that's concerned because I know that if I have to make a call that could be a potential dangerous situation, that they're there to back me too.
After the brief excitement, it's time to resume routine patrol. The nocturnal deputies will have to grab their shut-eye after their 8-hour shift is over. But because the patrollers don't get to rest at night, the rest of us can sleep a little easier. Scott Wallace, Action 4, Southeast Oklahoma County.
The FAA has a contract with some Ramada Inns and other Oklahoma City hotels where air traffic controller students can come and stay until they have apartments. The contract says this: the FAA will lease 500 rooms and will pay for those rooms whether they're occupied or not. On the surface, it looks like this is wasting hundreds of thousands of taxpayers' dollars, but actually the government is saving money.
About 500 new students were expected to arrive at the training center every 4 to 5 weeks. However, many of those will find apartments, thus leaving an empty room for the FAA to pay for. So why did the Academy agree to the 500-room lease contract?
When the air traffic crunch came along, we knew we were going to need a lot of apartments. They weren't available. There was only about a 2% vacancy rate. We thought we had to do something to assure that the students had a place to stay. So we went out and leased some motel rooms for a 6-month period to get us by this crunch. We were putting the pressure on to get the students to move out. We've reduced that pressure now so that it'll increase our occupancy rate.
When a student arrives under short-term conditions, he or she is given a $50 a day per diem to live off of. However, while that person stays in a hotel or motel, that per diem figure is dropped to $23 a day, since the government is paying for the room. FAA officials say the current contract with the city hotels ends in April, at which time students will just have to start hunting for apartments again with some help from the FAA. Ed Stewart, Action 4.
And then turning around and trying to just... Now, I hope that you people now... What I'm hoping that this resolution will accomplish, and what the group hopes that it will accomplish, is to put the Reagan administration on notice that these older people out here have got their ear to the ground, and they're not going to listen to a lot of his rhetorics on looking after the older people and then turn around and saying something and doing something that's absolutely contrary to what these older groups think should be done.
I don't engage in vote counting in the Oklahoma legislature, but I think it is losing ground in all the state legislatures. I am confident that it has fewer votes in our Illinois legislature than it did the last time it was voted on. And the reason is that there's no benefit in E.R.A. Nobody can show any tangible benefit that E.R.A. will give to women. And at the same time, we can show all kinds of detriments.
He said, "Now this is a robbery. I've got a sawed-off shotgun under my coat," and he demanded various drugs such as dilaudid, cocaine, other various Schedule II narcotics. And just as he brandished the weapon at the clerks, the pharmacist simultaneously shot the man, and from what we've been able to ascertain, once in the chest, and the suspect was pronounced dead at the scene.
WD is not worth a darn for radio.
Hours after the National Saddlery has closed its doors to the public, you can still find John Rule hard at work. Rule builds saddles from the tree up. He carefully tacks his creations together piece by piece. There's no doubt his leather sculptures are works of art.
I'm a little more artist than a craftsman. A craftsman can sit down at any time and do his craft. An artist, just like whether I'm painting or whatever, I've got to feel it. I've got to want to do it. I've got to have some good ideas, and it's a hindrance to me at times because I do have so much that I need to do, and if I don't always feel like it, I don't get much done.
While the rawhide on one saddle dries, John works on another. He quickly pounds out his precision artwork, knowing that one slip of his punch could ruin an expensive piece of leather. But his practiced hand seldom slipped. Some 50-odd hours later, the saddle is finished. Hand craftsmanship is not cheap. This saddle will sell for some $1,400. Now, Rule can't compete price-wise with factory saddle makers, but they can't compete with his quality. And those who can afford his quality creations will tell you Rule's saddles are worth the money, because a saddle is the only thing that can come between a cowboy and his horse. Scott Wallace, Action 4 at the National Saddlery.